Yo, what is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today is going to be a little catch-up Worlds video, give you guys some information about the SEC/SOC games, and then show you guys the bracket for what they have to play through in order to get to Worlds to compete with the Kings, Levi's, Dragons, and Bolts. Bolts, big surprise, actually showed up and played really well. And then once we get through that, we're going to talk about the meta, what I expect the meta to be, top gods, how I think the meta will play out. And then at the end, we'll do a little bit of predictions once we get through this group stage that I think is in the second week of January. But yeah, let's get into it. So looking at the tournament, it is a double elim 8-person bracket, just pretty normal bracket. Titans, Ravens. Ravens are the 2 seed coming out of EU. A little bit of a surprise, but not too much. I think they were second place through most of the year. EU is pretty much separated as Hex Mambo, and then literally every other team kind of the same as NA, to be honest. Titans, Ravens, and then the other game is Valks, Eldritch Hounds on the top side. I think this is going to be a very, very good game. I think that people are going to expect the Valks to just win this game because that they've been beating the Hounds kind of all year, but this Hounds team is the best that they've been. I think with DaJi, I think they have a really good chance. I think he upgraded them a lot. Can't remember what their old solo laner's name is, but I think he upgraded them a lot. Third game, Oni Warriors versus Shabalba Storm. It's crazy seeing both the Warriors and the Titans down here. I mean, congrats to the Bolts that they made it through, but I expected one of these teams to make it through. Shabalba Storm, the number 2 team in NA. Again, same thing as EU, is like Hounds the entire year and then just the rest. Shabalba Storm did look good though on the way in. Congrats to those boys. And then the last game is the Scarabs versus Mambo. I think this is everybody's like upset alert game. Like the Mambo, I might even be favorites for this. Not too surprising because of how clean that they've looked a lot of this year, but I think this will be a really good game too. I'm excited for this. If you win, you go to the right side. If you win 2 games, you're in the finals, and I think you're guaranteed if you win your first 2 games, I think you're guaranteed. It just depends on what seeding you are, if you're first or second. If you lose, you go to the left. If you lose twice, you are eliminated. Yeah, top 4. This is your 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed. So if you're the 5th seed, you'll play against the Bolts. If you're the 6th seed, you play against the Dragons. 7th seed, Levi's. 8th seed, Kings. And it might not seem like it, but 5th seed in this is very, very important. The Bolts, I think, are pretty clearly the 4th best team out of this grouping. These 3 have been pretty close at the end of this year, and I think you don't want to play any of these guys. But I think this Bolts team sticks out as kind of the team you want to play against. So this 5th seed is going to be very, very important. But yeah, this is what the tournament looking like, and it starts the 5th, not the second week of January. It starts the 5th, Wednesday at 11 a.m. And let's go into the meta. So we're just going to be talking about kind of my top 3 gods going into this tournament and into Worlds. We've kind of seen every possible change that we've seen. I've got one kind of out of the blue character that I think has just got a really good chance of showing up. If I think that there's any other gods to talk about, I'll throw them in there, but we'll just be highlighting the gods and then highlighting the meta that I think makes them a really good god. So starting with solo lane, Cthulhu, Hades, Alma. Really no surprise for these top 2. Cthulhu and Hades have kind of been dominating the solo meta ever since Claw got added. Before that, it was maybe like Guan Yu was pretty good. Guan does lose lane to both of these. I think that's why it's a pretty big reason these 2 are top 2. And then I'm going to toss in Alma as in like the 3rd, and the pretty big difference between the top 2 and the 3rd. I think she has some very, very good strengths, and she just power farms, which is like her big thing, which is what you kind of have to do against these characters because they kind of win lane really well. I think Alma's that kind of next tier, more niche character, like with Bologna. I opted to put Alma here instead of Bologna because I think Alma's just a better character currently, and I think Bologna's just kind of picked because she's just a little bit better early game. But I think Alma, once you get level 7, 8, 9, 10, Alma's going to be absolutely insane. And then once you get to level 20, Alma's one of those solo laners that scales really, really well. Solo lane is not going to be something that's who can dominate the solo lane. Right now, the meta is who can survive until the late game. Even if you get a big lead, it's very, very rare unless you're just absolutely stomping to win the game in 20, 25 minutes. It's a big reason Cthulhu is playing right now because you just can't stomp him. You just can't. So that's why I think Alma's going to be in a really good position. She can live until level 12, and then she can just power farm and rotate into fights really quickly. Next up, jungle, DaJi, Naja, Lancelot. What is there to say about DaJi? We'll start with DaJi. What is there to say? She is absolutely busted. Her kit makes no sense. Everything about her is just busted ever since they made it so she could clear early game. I see no reason for her not to be the number 1 jungle coming into this. There's no counters against DaJi. Like, Geb is good, but Geb is not very good in the meta. Kepri's good, but Kepri's also not good into DaJi. He's good at keeping, like, 1 person alive, and that's usually going to have to just be himself unless he goes beads. A lot of characters are just not very good at DaJi. Even if you have CC immunity in your kit, she has enough burst damage to just one-shot you and then go into the air and waste another 8 seconds. She can stay to the air just an obnoxiously long time. Next to Naja, Lance. We'll throw Pele and talk about Pele kind of interchangeably because it's like these this number 1 DaJi, and then these are the next 3. Lance was winning a lot. So looking at this graphic by Blues Ultra, really, really good follow if you like SPL content. He's absolutely fantastic. He makes these things for patch days and for this. If you look at the SPL tournament from either way, this is the end of the phase 3 playoffs. This is the one the Kings ended up winning. If you're looking at it, DaJi, number 1 pick, 100% presence. If she's not banned, like 89% of the time, she'll get picked. Next one's Ishtar, Naja, Cern, Yemoja. Makes a good case for these characters to be some of the best. But look at Lancelot, 8-5 win-loss, which is incredibly high for any god. Like, look at the rest of these gods. All of them are just meh, or just like barely negative or barely positive. He's got 13 picks and he's winning 8 of them. That's why I've got a big reason to believe that Lance is just going to be stomping. Twig is really looking strong in the character too. And then Naja's just kind of been that number 2 jungler right behind DaJi, along with Pele. I opted to put Naja as in this top 3 because I think Pele is more of a niche character. He's a lot better into Cupid. He's a lot better into Cern. Into Ishtar, she's not as good, and I think Naja doesn't really care about matchups. So that's why I put Naja. And then Naja is actually a good matchup into Lance too. Going over to mid lane, Vulcan been the best mid laner for the last half of this year. He allows you to kill objectives. He's very good at farming. He's very hard to kill. His build right now is very strong. No reason for him not to be the best mid laner at Worlds. Next up, Yu Wong. I was thinking about putting Morgan here, and I'm still kind of curious to see where she has played. The only person that really still picks her is Dardes, or picks him is Dardes. So I am going to keep Morgan off the list. Yu Wong has been picked by Pegon, been picked by a bunch of other of the mid laners, picked in SEC. I would expect Yu Wong to see some picks. And then I have Tiamat here. And maybe this is personal bias, but I think Tiamat is one of the best mids in the game, and her build right now is absolutely fantastic. She can now finally clear early game, clear mid game, and then she gets to the point where she is probably top 3-4 late game mages, because she gives you the ability to split push, pressure other lanes. She's very hard to dive. She has good follow-up. She's got a lot of abilities to proc Reavers and stuff. And then with Soul Gem being only 3 abilities, she's going to have it up all the time. It's going to make her even harder to kill. So Tiamat, I'm going to be putting there. I expect maybe a Paul to play her. Shinto. I'm really excited to see if she's played, because if she is, she's kind of like my all-in of, I think she's good enough to be played, so I'm hoping the others have seen it. And if not, and they tried her and she sucks, well then, they're wrong. ADC, really no surprise. I kicked Cupid out of the top 3 because Dance has got a good matchup into Cupid. Ishtar flexes, Cern flexes, and then Dan's got a good matchup into Cupid. Don't have to spend too much time on ADC because it's pretty obvious kind of what these characters do. If you really wanted to throw Cupid in, he is pretty much by far the 4th character. I do want to touch on, I'm curious if Kronos will be played in duo lane. His build doesn't really work for duo in my opinion, so it maybe is him going to be played in mid over like a Yu Wong or Tiamat. But I'm curious to see if he's played. I don't think Freya's build right now is very good. I don't think Oleron's build right now is very good. Soul's build is okay. Baron made it look pretty good. But I think Kronos has the ability to be played in ADC. I just don't think his build warrants him being played there instead of mid lane. So we'll see, but these are my top 3 ADCs. And then lastly, to no one's surprise, Yemoja's making the top 3. However, I did move her down below Maui on the tier list. I've got a good feeling that Maui is going to be the best god at the tournament. That's not Ishtar or DaJi. And then maybe like Cthulhu Hades. It's kind of like up in the air with those two. What Maui does now is wins lane, peels for his teammates, sets up for his teammates. He's very, very safe with a CC immune ult that like banishes him kind of from the field, and a jump that banishes him from the field also after like a half-second like wind up time. And he's got a really good matchup into Yemoja. He wins this early 2v2 versus Yemoja and is one of the few gods that actually pressures evenly with her. So I think Maui's going to be one of the best gods in this game with those buffs that he got. His 1 actually comes out really quickly now. His 2 allows him to just play this aggressive style that he wants to play. Yemoja, well, she's always going to be an SPL pick. I would not be surprised at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, Yemoja sees an absolute gutting to her kit and like a rework. Maybe to her ult, maybe to her 1, 2, 3 passive, whatever it is. I just think Yemoja's days are numbered, and I would expect big changes to her, like kit altering changes to her very soon. So this might be the last Worlds we have with Yemoja in her current kit, but she's still one of the best in the game. And then lastly for supports, Khepri. I opted to move Ymir off the list. I think the nerf to his 1 is a bit too much. It kind of guts his 1 strength. Unlike these other gods, Maui, Yemoja, their entire kit is their strength. Ymir's strength was his wall. His wall was absolutely busted. Probably the best ability in all of Smite, including ultimates if you think about cooldowns also. The ability to just block off an exit for 6 seconds, but if it's bad wall for you, you can drop it and then bring it off cooldown or like play for relics, whatever it is, was absolutely busted. But now being a 13-second cooldown, only lasts 4.5 seconds if you max it, I think Ymir kind of got gutted. I think that allows Khepri to kind of step up. Khepri's got a pretty good matchup into the Emoja, into the Mauis, because he can just build into beads. He can build into kind of any relic he wants. He's always going to be a good med shell god. And he's just really good at keeping his backliners alive. If you're playing backliners like Ishtar, Surin, Dance, Tia, Yuwang, Vulcan, having a god like Khepri as your support is phenomenal. It allows you to just play the game a little bit more aggressively, or hold a relic maybe when otherwise you wouldn't be able to, and he's always going to be a strong 2v2 god in laning phase. I expect this meta to kind of shape up into a play slow and don't make mistakes meta, where it's farming mostly. Maybe some fights on objectives. Fire Giant isn't going to be an objective until like 18 minutes. Gold Fury can't be really an objective until 15 minutes. Pyro doesn't spawn until 10 minutes, and you can't lose the game really pre 10 minutes unless you're just getting absolutely smoked. So I would not be surprised if this meta is 30-minute games, really, really late game. I do think the Dragons are still going to be playing really aggressive, trying to win these games early, but it's going to be very, very hard. There are so many mechanics to come back in Smite right now to slow down games that if you're not playing flawlessly and you're trying to dominate the early game, it's going to be very, very hard. But there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. A little throw together for this group stage pre-SPL groups thing, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what they have it worded as. It's something like that, though. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys again next time. Peace.